The Chicago Bears confirmed interview list casting a wide net. What's up, guys? The last 48 hours have been a whirlwind, and I wanted to go ahead and update you on all of the confirmed interviews we have so far and talk about why the Bears are casting a wide net in this coaching search. Let's go ahead and get right into it. First off, here's a look at all of the candidates, starting with Ben Johnson, the Lions offensive coordinator. Then you have Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator of the Lions. We also have the defensive coordinator of the Vikings, Brian Flores, followed by the offensive coordinators of both the Ravens and the Bills, Todd Monken and Joe Brady. And then we have ex-Titans head coach Mike Vrabel, the Cowboys' current head coach Mike McCarthy, ex-Stanford head coach David Shaw, the offensive coordinator from the Steelers, Giants, and Cardinals, Arthur Smith, Mike Kafka, and Drew Petzing, defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver, interim Bears head coach Thomas Brown, and last but not least, ex-Seahawks head coach Pete Carroll. But again, guys, as I was editing this video, the Bears have announced yet another interview, the 15th candidate in total, Iowa State head coach Matt Campbell, who is 45 years old. He is going to be the 15th candidate to interview for the Chicago Bears head coaching position. Add one more to the list, guys. Today, I'm not going to dive deep into each of these candidates yet. I am doing a ton of background work on each of these guys myself. And as we move into next week, I will be releasing a larger video where I cover each of the remaining candidates. I will probably narrow down the list a bit, though. However, if you didn't notice, I did include the ages of each of these candidates, with Pete Carroll being the oldest and Joe Brady being the youngest. Now, I want to talk about why the Bears are casting such a wide net. I've seen a lot of comments about how they should have had this list narrowed down by now, and they don't know what they're doing, etc., etc. But what does it hurt? Think about it for a minute. Each guy that comes in is going to give you their detailed plan on how they would develop Caleb Williams and not only fix this offense, but fix this franchise. What does it hurt to hear out a couple more guys than normal who may have unique plans? Even if you don't hire these guys, they could at least offer some insight that you might have previously overlooked. I think this is often overlooked in the interview process. It's not just about hiring these guys, it's also about getting a chance to see how different football minds would fix the Chicago Bears. It's not just about the process. And that's especially the case for a couple of the veteran coaches, Pete Carroll, Mike Vrabel, and Mike McCarthy. They've all had a lot of success in the NFL. Why not pick their brain about Caleb Williams? Why not at least hear the plan they have to fix the Chicago Bears? There's also the factor that if we want any of the big name coordinators, most likely we're going to have to wait till closer to the Super Bowl at the very least until we make the hiring official. So if Ben Johnson is the target, we most likely have 3 weeks at minimum before we can hire him. So why not make absolutely sure that he is the best candidate? One way to do that is to spend these next 3 weeks narrowing the list down and interviewing other guys. My man Plank reached out to me recently, and he asked this question as well. Why are we casting such a wide net? But he also remembered a story about the Pittsburgh Steelers hiring Mike Tomlin. And something that Art Rooney talked about was that Mike Tomlin was not in consideration to be the Steelers head coach until after they interviewed him. Once they got Mike Tomlin in the room, they knew he was the guy for the job. And that's kind of how I'm leaning here. Why not take a chance? And maybe someone that we initially didn't consider, once we get him in the room and hear his plan for this franchise, maybe we'll know he is the guy. I don't think there's a perfect process to find the right head coach. There isn't one way to do anything. It's just about finding the right guy. And for the Chicago Bears, it is so important that we find the right head coach. Not only because we've struck out for the past 15 plus years, but it's also important because we have to find the right guy to develop Caleb Williams. I've been consistent all along that I would prefer an offensive minded coach, but that doesn't mean I won't be happy with a defensive guy either. One of the things I'm going to try to do differently this time is be as brutally honest as possible about this hiring. I never hyped up Matt Eberflus, but I don't know if I was 100% honest about him either. I was always a bit disappointed in that hiring. I did get behind Flus and try to support him, but I always thought he was just a bit weird to me. Some of the things he did were just kind of cringy, like the nicknames and the hits philosophy stuff. It was just a bit odd to me, and I found it hard to believe that players would really buy into that. But his defenses did perform really well after we acquired Montez Sweat. But his mishandling of players and clock management was just absolutely pathetic. And I just wanted to quickly address one final thing about the Matt Eberflus hiring when it comes to Ryan Poles. Look, we have to look back and remember here that that entire hiring process was led by an outside consultant, Bill Polian. One of the things I love about this hiring process is nobody from the outside is coming in. But if we think back, it was Bill Polian leading the entire process, helping us find not only a new GM, but also a head coach. So think about that for just a minute. Bill Polian was leading that search, and he interviewed Matt Eberflus before he interviewed Ryan Poles. And then Poles was hired, and then shortly afterwards, so was Matt Eberflus. Bill Polian and Matt Eberflus both also come from Indianapolis, so I just find it so difficult to believe that Flus was not pushed onto Ryan Poles. Poles was a first time GM, and he had just gotten hired. How much power he had at that point is questionable, especially since he needed a coach that would buy in and go along with his plan of tearing the roster down and rebuilding. So it is just some food for thought there as we try to find the right head coach to put this franchise back on track and finish off the rebuild. But the main point of today's video was to address the Bears casting such a wide net when it comes to these interviews. And while I was working on this video, of course, the Bears scheduled another interview. I think the bottom line is it doesn't matter at all how many people we interview. All it matters is whether or not they get the hire right. There isn't any one particular way they should go about this, but I would rather them interview too many candidates than have them not interview enough candidates and miss out on someone who could have been the right hire. Because at the end of the day, that's all that matters, getting this head coaching hire right. I am curious to know how you guys are feeling, though. Let me know in the comments. I have a ton more content on the way. The Bears will be holding multiple interviews tomorrow. Stay tuned. Remember to hit that like button for me. And until next time, bear down.